Welcome to KDC on the Move. My name is Barry Frazier, your host. We are broadcasting from the speakeasy in the basement of United Metro Boys Academy, healing place for men and boys. We also help men who find themselves in a position of society where a traditional job no longer is feasible for them to function in. So we help them develop plans, business plans, and LLCs and things of that nature to help them redevelop themselves and project them forward in society, and that may come through, we know someone, a fellow man out there that owns a business that may need some help in a particular industry, and maybe we connect that man to that other man that may have a job for that particular time. But ultimately, our goal through this podcast is to teach the principle of ownership and management and rulership and dominion and everything. We're going to try to reshape some of the mental constraints that keep men trapped in despair and plug them into their natural selves where they're supposed to be, a creative environment they see themselves in. And the only way that we can do that is to teach them what an entrepreneur is and, what self-reflection and, creative talent and, things of that nature. Business is my Rubik's Cube. And I find pleasure in turning the cube and seeing what we can create. And sometimes two minds are better than one, which leads me in today's topic, brotherhood. Yeah, let's talk about brotherhood. Now, in this thing we call brotherhood, there is some things that may be controversial in this discussion, about how men act, and I may use some terms that may offend some. So, if this ain't for you, turn off the radio or wherever you listen to this from, because I'm not here to usually talk about feelings and have to be inclusive of everybody's ideologies and, and effects, and I hurt your feelings. But the only thing you have to do is just turn it off. So you have the freedom to do that. That's why we believe in the freedom of speech. And we also believe in the Second Amendment. And we believe that, we're responsible for our brothers. When their family's down, my family's down. So, we stand together. Brotherhood of fathers, believers, men of Yahweh, sons of Yah, standing together to provide for the family and live in our natural image as men. So let's talk about brotherhood. Brotherhood is actually, sometimes misconstrued as this belonging or this being a part of. I got this many friends. I got 5 friends. I got my homeboys in Texas. I got homeboys in Memphis. I got homeboys in Florida. I got homeboys in New York. I got them up top. I got that's what some people consider brotherhood. Brotherhood is the number of dudes that you cool with. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Cool with. Brotherhood is not about, somebody just cool with. That's something that, that's definitely necessary that, you have common, ideas. But, not all your ideas are common. Most of my brothers have different views of life than me. They come from different social locations and, they look at things differently than I do. That's one of the things that I pride myself in having in my war chamber is a group of kings that don't mind wielding their sword, pulling out their sword on me. That's whether it's dialogue or they, put up your dukes. You ain't doing what's right, man. You acting out of character, you dysfunctioning in your family. My sister deserves better. My nieces, my nephew deserve better. That's the kind of brothers that I have around me, and I challenge them the same way. My brothers know they can come in here and say they have done anything disrespectful to their wives and expect for me to jump on the bandwagon of the cheer club. Talk to the wrong one. First thing I'm going to ask the brother is, why did you take that approach? I'm going to check him first. Regardless if he get mad at me or not, we can fight, I might still got a little bit in me, maybe not. Hey, there are other ways, we might have to fight some things out, bruise each other up a little bit to get to a common place of understanding. Men have lost that in society. They become, for lack of a better word, feminized, to what men are supposed to do. Iron sharpens iron. That scripture. Kings create kings. Please understand what that means. That means that you're supposed to be comfortable with being challenged. You're supposed to be comfortable with someone telling you that your shit stank. You need to be comfortable with someone telling you, man, you might be a little abusive in your household, doc. If you need somebody to fight, come over here, let's scrap it out there and go back home and leave that woman alone. You might need somebody who ain't scared of you. Who that you got to think twice about, if you really gonna run up on this person. Now, in my chamber, I got, 3 solid guys. Erastus Matthew, baby boy. Had James Paul as the confidant. Have Kerry Diaz. These gentlemen come from all different places. James is a Haitian. Diaz is a Jamaican. Ray is an AT alien. And I'm a Southern Negro native. I don't even like that terminology. They don't even define me enough. All these characteristics of black. You're black, you're African American, you this, you have this, you mulatto, you cream colored. Fish-eyed fool. Ain't that what else used to say on Sanford and Son, guys? Call them fish-eyed fool. We might well be called a fish-eyed fool. We've been called everything else. Because I don't pay attention to those labels, and you shouldn't either. It don't matter if you're white or black. If you're a man, that's who I'm talking to. We all get up in the morning, put our drawers on, one leg at a time. And if you could do that trick, you could jump up in the air, put your drawers on both legs, and you got a special skill. And you need to share that to the world so we all can laugh. Because that ain't the natural form of getting dressed. So I'm talking to the natural man, the man who do things normally, who don't fall for spells, that raw diamond in the rough, that man on the cusp of society that may not, find itself included in all parts of society because, you might not be as polished as you supposed to be. I give y'all a character in scripture that may make y'all smile. And I always laugh every time I talk about this character because, a real good friend of mine, my buddy James, kind of compared me to this guy one time. I was dealing with a gentleman that's doing some stuff he ain't supposed to do with. And I'm trying to get, make some diplomatic decisions and make good sound judgments so you don't hurt nobody. Nobody gets hurt. Try to make some good decisions. And James told me this. He said, Fraser, let me tell you something. He said, when you dealing with your brothers, no matter if it's me or if it's anybody else that you're talking to, what you project out is, it can be felt. When you're learning things about yourself, you don't know what that means. It can be felt. You can feel what being projected out. So I had to learn that. So I take you back to this person. I'm gonna tell you the story, and then I'm gonna end on this. And I'm gonna talk about brotherhood. And I'm gonna leave you with a note, and I want you to think about what this story means. I'm gonna tell you the story of King Jehu. King Jehu. Let me make sure y'all understand that. So you Googlers can go look up King Jehu and see if it gives you the right information about it. If not, then they will go in more ancient text to show you more specifically who King Jehu was. I even have Chauncey Young come on and give some lessons in Hebrew, so we can understand the text in its natural written form. So all those things are possibilities. Shout out to Tony, Chauncey Young, my teacher on so many different levels. I love you, boy. So let's go back to King Jehu. King Jehu was this guy in the Bible. Okay, I'm gonna make it very, very simple. I don't believe in telling long, confusing stories. I like to make it applicable, something that you can see and you can feel. So King Jehu was this dude in the Bible, man. He was king. He was the commander of the northern Israeli army. He was a northern commander, a general. One of those dudes. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you may know a dude like that in your neighborhood. That dude that everybody know. Hey, just leave him alone. He might not be. What I'm saying, all the way. Right. What I'm saying. It may not. His reasoning may not be. What fits humanity. So Jehu was that dude. So Jehu was known as a warmonger, and he got stuff done. Jehu was that dude, what I'm saying, that you didn't want to see coming, and he drove like crazy, what I'm saying. He drove this chariot, you saw him coming, Jehu be kicking up dust. The horse be driving crazy, be driving left to the right, slanging up dust. Everybody saw Jehu coming. Everybody knowing Jehu was in town, and everybody got out of Jehu way. Jehu didn't, didn't talk a lot. It was a short description of him in scripture. It's just one little part that talks about this guy and it's often missed. And it actually leaves man confused about the different expressions that YHWH used to make change in society. It's not always that polished person that you think he may put in leadership to bring about change. The reason why I know that is because I'm one of those people. I'm not the most polished person. But I have to be a change agent in my environment. So King Jehu. So, during this time, it was the time of Jezebel. Y'all hear me talk about Jezebel because, Jezebel is an energy, she's represented in scripture as being this beautiful, voluptuous, beautiful, that sweet thing. The thing that we fall for every day. You know what I'm saying? What did you see walking around with like, good gosh, hey, I'm married, but still look, that woman was made out of some beautiful clay. Boy, he took his time with that piece. So that's a masterpiece. And if you sit up here and say that you don't still look at beautiful women and you're married, then you're not being honest. The thing about this is to be genuine. You see beautiful women. That's the thing. You see them. And they know that you see them. And they not all women are Jezebels. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not putting that label out there, guys. What I'm saying, Jezebel is that expression or that thing that attracts you, that thing, it may be culture, it may be idols, it may be a lot of different things. Jezebel carry a lot of different names, and she shapeshifts and come in many different forms. So Jezebel is that entity that's able to kick you off your journey. So Jezebel is that thing. No matter if for you it may be Jezebel. Jezebel might be a woman. Jezebel might be money. Jezebel might be, sexual identity. Jezebel might be a whole lot of different things that it is, that comes into play in your world. So Jezebel is that thing, that shifter, that shapeshifter that can cause you to act out of character. Culture, Jezebel, anything that shapes you out of your natural form. So now we got to understand who Jezebel is in this story. So let's get back to King Jehu. So back in that time, kings were chosen by prophets and they were instructed by YHWH to go give instruction on who will be the next king in the lineage. So the prophet received a word to go tell King Jehu that he was going to be king. But he also told the prophet that once you tell him, you run as fast as you can away from Jehu. Because Jehu was that dude. You know what I'm saying? That he ain't gonna about to talk, and he ain't gonna be sitting around his presence, because he ain't about no small talk. He ain't finna sit around and entertain you and play, checkers and eat crumpets with you. He ain't finna do that. You better tell him what you want him to know and get out of his face. That's Jehu. So he told there, and the prophet went up to Jehu. He said, I need to speak with you, Jehu. So the prophet told Jehu that he had been elected the king of Israel. And the prophet ran away. So Jehu had cool, calm, and collected, didn't blink, probably just walked out, walked back in, went sit down and say nothing. His homeboys asked him, they just as wild as Jehu. You know what I'm saying? Birds of a feather flock together. So they just as rough as Jehu. They say, Jehu, what did that man say? Jehu said, the matters of what that man speak of. So basically, he said, what he told me, man, come on. He told me I was king, man. What he said to me. So they bowed and they worshiped him. But one thing that Jehu had to let them know, that he had told the prophet, told him that he had to go overthrow Jezebel and the king sitting on the throne at that particular time, who let Jezebel take over the culture of the kingdom. and shape it and form that it was unnatural to the way YHWH, the creator God, had designed for Earth to function. Humanity to interact. The relational consciousness of mankind had been interrupted by the culture that Jezebel had influenced the king to project in the kingdom. So the prophet told Jehu, you gotta go kill this dude. Okay, so his boys saddled up, you know what I'm saying? Pony up. In our modern day language in the hood, the OGs appreciate this. He said, get the tools together. So they get on their chairs, they go riding crazy. They come bucking, smoking, you know what I'm saying? Dust everywhere, just scaring the crap out of folk. You know what I'm saying? Just get out of his way, he gonna run over you. That's Jehu. So Jehu get to the edge of the cave, he stopped. He said still. He ain't say nothing, he said nobody, just stop. So in the process of him coming, you know, Jezebel and the king was standing on that platform looking out, said, here come Jehu, because everybody knew Jehu, that crazy driving general. Crazy, mercenary style, you know what I'm saying? Don't say too much. Don't look at him too hard, that kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? He was that dude. So he came, he sit there, so they knew he was coming. So the king sent out his little representative out there to Jehu. He said, go see what Jehu want. So he said to the little guy there, he said, Jehu, what do you want, Jehu? Jehu basically said, man, shut up, get behind me, Doc. No, he talked to me. That's what he basically said, get behind me, now you belong to me. Jehu sit there. Okay? And then hear the king come out. Jehu, what do you want? Jehu said, who you talking to, man? You got no right to talk to me. I'm king around here. You think you king, but I'm king. You don't have no right to address me. Kings can only talk to other kings. So he saw that he wasn't getting no Jehu, so he started running. So Jehu shot him in the back with an arrow. Pow! Didn't let him get too far, you know what I'm saying, just for sport. He said, give him a little running chance. That's all he did, you know what I'm saying? Gave him a little running chance. And then he trampled over with his chariots on the way to the kingdom, to deal with the king that he had to deal with. to deal with Jezebel. So he get outside in the little room. I'm telling this, so you can understand. There's a lot of he and thee and thou and all that. You know what I'm saying? I can put it in that text if you want that way, but I'm telling it in a way where you can digest it. So he get out there, Jezebel went in there. She made us that she was smelling good, looking good. Boy, I promise you were thinking in your mind she was delicious, man. That's what you were thinking, because that's the influence she had on men of her time. If Jezebel walked around, boy, she stopped traffic in all directions. That was Jezebel. So Jezebel was that got that thing made up, Doc. She thought she could come on that balcony, flirt herself out there like, Jehu, what are you here for? Jehu didn't say nothing. Jay didn't even respond to the beauty. He didn't respond to the distraction. And he said, are there any of you that follows me? And during that time, they had eunuchs, And eunuchs were those people who had been castrated, You didn't know they were male or female. They were servant only. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about political stuff that you may see similar happening in this society that, human trafficking stuff that we're going to talk about too, because it's necessary to talk about because it deals with our children. But anyway, the eunuchs heard Jehu. And after he had asked that question, they had something to consider, If I don't respond to this dude, then, I'm on a chopping block. So they heard Jehu say, anybody up there I ain't got no followers up there? You know what I'm saying? Anybody on my team up there? He didn't know these people now. He just asked that question. He threw Jezebel off the balcony. Destroyed that nasty culture of that time. So I say King Jehu because you never know who Yahshua is going to invade with the Ruah. That he's gotten instructions from YHWH to put you on the throne. Not to be in dominion over man, but to make you responsible for a purpose in earth. So don't think that he won't choose you, because he just may. He chose King Jehu, one of the roughest dudes in society. We'll talk about David another time. We'll talk about who David was. But I want to talk to you one of the most notorious rough kings that's hardly ever spoken about in scripture, in the sacred text, and that's Jehu. He was a man that was different amongst himself. He was a warmonger, he was a killer. But when it came time for his call and his purpose, he accepted it. And everything that he had done prior in his life, it didn't matter because he had been crowned king. So this thing we call brotherhood has to be taken seriously because we all are purpose driven. We all move in a different direction. We all are guiding our light in different directions. And the last thing that you want to find in brotherhood is betrayal. Because sometimes you don't know that the very brother that you are betraying is very thankful for the restraining spirit of the Ruach every day. Because at any given moment, we can be Jehu. We can accept a call to do what's necessary to be done. Whether he used to be a brother or not. Sometimes love is tough. And that's what I have in my chamber. I have very sharp men who do not mind challenging me when I malfunction in society. That I venture outside of my code that we have in scripture, which is not the full representation of the body of text. There's so many other books that were left outside of that canon. What we read in the 66 books is so many others. One that you may want to consider looking into is the Gospel of Thomas. And try to find it in its most natural form because it's been, transliterated in so different ways that it's been said to say something that it ain't really supposed to say. But everybody don't read Hebrew and Greek and look at things like that. So we try to make sure that you are aware at least of what, is being portrayed, in society. It's not true. It's part of the lie, the hypnotism of what we talked about last episode. And the last thing you want in your group of brothers is someone that you can't trust, who don't have your best interest at heart. One thing, my grandfather, he was a farmer. I come from generations of farmers. And everything that I do is based on an agricultural principle. Can't help it. That's the way I think. Call me country, call me what you want. But everything, the way I see life, is based on an agricultural principle. Seed, time, and harvest. Not the way it's sold as an advertisement in the church. No, the natural seed time and harvest. Natural seasons of growth and development in it. And seeing, patterns develop. And, when you have a garden, you have people there that you're responsible for. Making sure they had a proper fertilization, the proper water, proper air so they can develop in your garden. That's what your family are. Each member of your garden is a plant that requires different things. And you have to be attentive enough to deal with each individual needs of the plants in your garden, the children, the wife, the dogs. But you have an extended garden too that ventures outside of your immediate family, and it's called brotherhood. The gentleman that I mentioned to you earlier, they're my closest of closest. They're my inner chamber. And they don't think that what happens in that inner chamber is always pretty and nice. We challenge each other in a lot of different ways. So when we have to define brotherhood, it's almost like you have to interview people. And it's sad to say, because people come to you with alternative agendas and things that, they want to try to pull from you, out you, through you. It's an old thing, I believe old country sayings, because they're proven to have wisdom, the way you know the way you know a tree is by what's hanging from the branches. That's the way scripture was told through oral tradition. Basically, it's telling you the tree is going to bear the fruit it's supposed to. But to hear it in the country way, southern comfort, you tell a tree by what hangs from its branches. Sometimes, people come to you and they are very, very, very put together. Brothers, men, want to be a part of what you do. And you believe them. Betrayal is what we're talking about. You believe them. And they tree look like it would bear fruit. And you know that in your garden shed, you have proper fertilization, air, and water to help this brother become. These brothers become what they're supposed to become. Because you see who they are, you're not trying to change their natural creature. You're trying to help them become what they're showing you to be. That's what you do as a brother. You come beside and assist. You don't betray. You don't walk away. You don't manipulate, most importantly. So when you're betrayed by a brother, the question is, what do you do? And you love that guy, those guys, that group. How do you fix that? Forgiveness. Forgiveness and grace through your vessel. I'm not talking about the grace of YHWH. You can't act on that. He gave you the ability to offer grace. Through the attributes that he gave to you, so offer grace and forgive. Now, does forgiveness mean that you have to stay in rightful relations with this person? No. Because you have to make the proper judgment about relationships in your life to see if they are proper, and to see if they are productive, and to see if they are beneficial, not only to you, but your family. Because whoever you bring around your family influence your family. So some brother you got to run off with a big stick. I talk to my brothers, I'm going to end with this, because this conversation is very personal to me in a lot of different ways on multiple fronts. And for you guys, it's very general, but you'll see. One of my confidants, James, he told me, we were talking about, always displaying to him about sword. For years, you always hear me talk about my sword. And not until about 6 months ago did he come to me and said, listen, man. He said, you talk a little, you're very militant in thought. You're very direct, straightforward, and candid. And, he said, you talk very militarized, in the way your mind works and strategy and, things like that. He said, but, I get all that. You're very organized. You're very systematic. And I said, yeah, I design systems for a living. That's what I do. I build businesses. And I help men build businesses. So, of course, I would think, linear and technically and, streamline and, business theory, onion theory, layer business layer. I said, yeah, I can understand that. He said, but that ain't what I want to talk to you about. He said, I want to talk to you about this sword. He said, what is that, man? Why do you talk about your sword? He said, you always say, James, I carry a big sword. He said, that sounded cool and very masculine. He said, but I never knew what that means, so explain to me. So I'm going to say this to you guys in my audience, that when you're dealing with brotherhood, that when you know you have a sword, and you know that you're skilled at using it. Sword is what you're capable of doing. It's your clout, your influence, your ability to settle affairs. That's your sword. Your integrity, that's your sword. Your purpose, that's your sword. Your word, that's the exercising of your sword. So when a man violates his word, therefore he drew his sword on you. So when a man draw his sword on you, in your proper position in brotherhood, whether you love that man or not, you have to defend yourself and draw your sword, which is your word, your integrity, your character. Even though people might try to destroy that. But be careful of the garden that you vex, because the very curse that you released into the environment of humanity, with someone else's name on it, it just may make it to that person that you sent it to and see that it had no power there. And that thing returns to its creator. And you'll find that same curse that you sent for somebody else showing up at your doorstep. Then what do? Because now you no longer have access to that other king's sword that would have fought for you to help you deal with some things in life. So brotherhood is key. Do not betray the people who are closest to you, because you're supposed to love them and help them throughout life and help them become better. Not have them looking over their shoulder warning you trying to put one of them little daggers in their back. Choose your brothers wisely. Have an inner chamber. Keep them close. And take care of your family. Love your community. And remember one thing, guys. Kings create